Welcome to the San Francisco Bay Area Advanced Practice Center's presentation for the SPIVA Toolkit. This presentation will focus on the second half of our 7 steps for highly effective surveys methodology. The San Francisco Bay Area Advanced Practice Center is part of a national network of APCs across the United States. The APC Network is funded by the National Association for County and City Health Officials. The San Francisco Bay Area Advanced Practice Center includes 2 products, including the Infectious Disease Emergency Response, or ITER Toolkit, as well as the Seasonal and Pandemic Influenza Vaccination Assessment, or SPIVA Toolkit. Both products can be found on our website at www.sfbayapc.org. The focus of this presentation will be on elements of the SPIVA Toolkit. Within the SPIVA Toolkit, we emphasize an incremental approach to conducting community assessments. We discuss how key informant interviews, focus groups, and community surveys can be used individually or in conjunction to develop a clear picture of the community that your public health agency is attempting to serve. Our objectives for this presentation include to describe how surveys can build on interviews and focus groups as an assessment tool. We also present an overview of our 7 steps for highly effective surveys methodology, and then focus on the last 4 steps of that methodology in detail, discussing how to design a questionnaire, pilot test a survey, conduct a survey, and communicate your survey findings. Community surveys serve as a method for collecting population-level information that can reveal trends, attitudes, opinions, and knowledge from the individuals within your community. While community surveys can provide a great deal of information, they also require careful planning and development. Our 7 steps for highly effective surveys include defining the survey goals, choosing a study design, choosing a sampling method, designing the questionnaire, pilot testing your survey, conducting your survey, and finally communicating the findings from that survey. Step 4, designing your questionnaire. Designing the questionnaire involves several steps, including designing the actual questions, designing your questionnaire, and finally designing your questionnaire administration in terms of how you're actually going to administer your survey to your population of interest. When designing your questions, you have several choices of the form that your questions can take. Quantitative questions can generally be answered in terms of numbers, such as height, weight, or the number of vaccinations a person might have received. Qualitative questions are generally answered with words and can be ordered or unordered, such as answering male or female, or having a series of responses that might include sometimes, always, or never. Finally, psychometric questions generally frame questions in terms of a scale and measure how a person might think, feel, or generally measure their attitudes around certain issues. This scale could range from I strongly agree to I strongly disagree, with several options in between. Designing the questionnaire and the method in which you administer the questionnaire are also very important. Your questionnaire could take a paper form or an electronic form, or it could be administered online through email or a survey website. Once you've decided how you're going to administer the questionnaire, you need to think about the questionnaire itself, such as the proper ordering of questions. And then if you're going to use interviewers to administer your questionnaire, you must ensure that they're properly trained so that they don't introduce bias to your survey. The goal of designing your questionnaire, your questions, and the method of administration are to avoid bias in the survey process so that you do not skew your results. This slide depicts a simple graphic that shows where different sources of bias might enter the survey process. Your questionnaire could involve bias because certain questions are framed in certain light or in a particular order. The questions themselves might have bias based on the tone or the wording or simple lack of clarity to the person answering the question. And finally, both the interviewer and the interviewee can introduce bias to the equation simply due to their thoughts, actions, mannerisms, or preconceptions around the issues in which you're asking questions. In order to ensure that you're avoiding bias to as much a degree as possible, you need to thoroughly pilot test your survey before administering it to your target population. You should always test your survey in the manner in which it will be given. If you'll be administering it on paper, have those testing the survey take it on paper. If you'll be conducting it in an interview format, administer it in that format. It's important to test your survey with multiple audiences, such as your colleagues or a population reflecting those in the population that you're going to be targeting. Your colleagues may be able to point out errors in accuracy or terminology related to your field, whereas focusing on the target population that might be taking your survey can help you realize that certain questions might be unclear to those not well versed in your area of work. You also want to be sure to keep an eye out for clarity of wording, question order, and how specific some of the questions get. Once you've thoroughly pilot tested your survey, you can finally move on to conducting your survey. The several steps to this include recruiting and enrolling your subjects according to your study design and sampling plan, collecting data using your questionnaire, processing and then entering the data, analyzing that data, and finally, interpreting the results. More is found in the SPIVA Toolkit online about how to analyze data and interpret those results. Once you've analyzed your data and figured out what the results of your survey are, you need to communicate your findings. There are several important questions to ask in this step, such as, who is the audience for these findings? What are your goals for conveying this information to the audience? And what were the overall goals of your survey? Findings can be communicated via news release, a web page, a report, a peer-reviewed article, and how you communicate those findings will depend on your audience. To review steps 4 through 7, in this video segment, we've learned to design our questionnaire in order to avoid bias, pilot test our survey, conduct our survey, and then communicate the findings of that survey. By using these methods found in the SPIVA Toolkit, we can help public health practitioners inform their planning, marketing, and risk communication activities, ensure that they use an incremental and continuous planning approach for more efficient preparedness efforts, and then apply these efforts to both seasonal and pandemic influenza vaccination campaigns, as well as a variety of other public health activities. This concludes our presentation for the SPIVA Toolkit. More information on the toolkit can be found on our website at www.sfbayapc.org.